to the Wandering Dotterel.
This is not a dream.
Like I said before, a smear campaign that ran 30 plus years, shaming me for something that someone else did in order for them to have their own agenda, which the agenda was unclear. But what I've seen is people who have been confronted with the truth in these situations, in the toxic, coercive, manipulative agenda that I've seen some of these people running. When they get confronted, they jump ship and will ignore the situation for multiple years. They won't contact you. If you end up asking someone how they're doing, you find out they've been saying all kinds of things about you. So be prepared when you're trying to change your outcome and change your direction in life and change the situation from toxic to healthy. Believe me, it will happen. People will jump ship on you and start a whole new story about why you're doing it or what you've done in your past, and all of everything that you've ever done your whole life will become someone else's opportunity to join in a smear campaign.
What?
There seems to be a horrendous issue around the understanding of child grooming. This happened to me when I was a child multiple times.
Huh?
And one of the individuals followed my mother's place of residence because he found out where she was working and knew that I would come visit her in the summertime. And this individual worked for an elite golf course. And at the time, my mother worked for the golf course. And in the interim, my mother befriended this individual, or the other way around, he befriended her, and then pursued me and ended up hurting me later. And I don't know why that's difficult for people to understand, that there are predators who will hurt small children because they want to, not because they need someone else's permission or advice. They just do it. It happened to me for several years. It happened to me in more than one situation. I can name several situations where I was put in the hands of predators.
What?
And hurt. And my family knew about it. My parents knew about it and covered it up and called me names, called me a liar, said that I was making up stories, that it never happened. But I was there. I could describe in-depth details about the individual's smell, their facial hair, the color of their hair, the clothes they were wearing when they did what they did. So we need to bring awareness, and we need to understand that our children need to be supervised. We don't leave them at church functions by themselves when they're underage. We don't leave them at school functions when they're very small for other people to be in their company, unless if we know there are individuals that will protect our children. The other issue revolving around childhood predators are the fact that people in authority don't believe it. They don't believe the children.
What?
And if the children bring it up to their parents and the parents blow the whistle or raise a red flag with counseling agencies or the authorities, most generally parents are pushed to the side because the children are too small to understand what's going on. But it's just not true. Because I know firsthand of a time when one of my children came and told me about an instance in public school where there was an individual of authority asserting weird pressure on them in a manner that caused other children to come forward. And there were upwards of 8 young people that came to my attention. And when I brought it to the authorities' attention, they swept it under the rug. And then when we brought it to a counseling agency, they said, we don't want to be involved. And therefore, because your child lied, we will no longer be able to treat you. We will no longer be able to offer you counseling. And at the time, I brought it to the attention of state authorities. And something finally did happen. And we still were pushed to the side and shunned because we brought it to the attention of the proper authority figures. And it's so ridiculous that this had to happen. Working with young people always is an eye-opener because children are readily honest, especially if they trust you as an individual, as a teacher, as a leader, as a mom or a community member. Even strangers will tell individuals that might be an authority figure to help them out in a way that would shed light on a subject that otherwise wouldn't be brought to the attention of anyone. And like I said before, I can't stress it enough. Church functions that are unattended by adults that you know with your children, school functions that are not attended by those that you know, and other types of functions where children are dropped off and just left unattended. You should think twice about doing that. Take it from someone who knows. I was unattended quite a bit when I was a child. I have memories of my very first instance of being left unattended while people partied, while people carried on and laughed in the background, and bad things happened. People got hurt, children got hurt, not in just weird grooming ways, but in physical ways. People sat on nails, people cut themselves, people fell down and got hurt, or they got bullied by someone else. And it's just not a good idea to leave our children unattended with people they don't know in environments that are strange to them. This is your host, the Dingy Dotterel. Another unfortunate example I have of things that adults do that they shouldn't, leaving their private magazines or movies or things laying around the house that are inappropriate for children to see. This happened with one individual that I knew that was looking for a job and needed a car, and their partner bought them an inexpensive car. And unfortunately, there were small children witnessing this whole thing.
Huh?
And this individual had prior legal issues, and they had obtained mass quantities of pornography, and they had put them in the back seat of the car.
What?
But underneath the seat. And they were going outside in the middle of broad daylight.
No.
And looking at their magazines in broad daylight in front of small children.
What?
And there were hundreds of magazines, and this person was outside in broad daylight, let's just say, exposing themselves in front of small children. And it was just absolutely ridiculous. They weren't even thinking about their behavior. They were just doing what they thought they could do when they wanted to do it without any consequence. But the consequence was they ended up back in legal repercussions, legal consequences. Other issues revolving around toxic cycles are toxic family members who are predators. Predators cause long-term issues for families, especially if they are in long-term relationships and or married. When I speak about this, I'm speaking from experience. Not only do I understand what grooming is, being watched and stalked or prepared for some type of intimate activity with a predator, it happens to small children of all ages. And I was very young, my first experience with this, which I'm not happy to speak about, but I will, because it needs to be brought to an open forum. And the individual that was the predator in my story, I will not name. They know who they are. Their situation has been brought to light. And what I understand is, before I was 10 years old, the situation was well known in my family. This was a family member.
What?
And it was a family member by marriage. And so, being a very young person, a very young child, I did not understand what any of that meant, that there are predators. I was too young to know that there are bad people in the world. So you could imagine I was very young. And this individual had predatorized not only me, but their own children.
Huh?
And to spring forward in time, the family knew about it for many years. And then they were alerted to the fact that I was predatorized. And so this is part of that 30-year toxic cycle that has to be broken. It has to be spoken about because the family knew. And then they turned around and made me the scapegoat because the family knew about the other children, but there was no retribution for me. I was just the outcast, the pariah, the egregious one who made problems and acted out of sorts. I didn't follow the way, per se. I didn't do what I was told at all times. I broke free and ran away, and then was living in a world of hurt for many, many years because it was never brought to the attention of the authorities, and also because I was made to be the bad kid, the bad listener, the one who was out of control, the weird one, the strange one, and the one who caused problems. But then I was also scapegoated, and fingers were pointed, and stories were slandered, and time has moved on. And if not now, when? When will these things be brought to light for anyone? If you're an individual who has suffered in any way, shape, or form like me, please seek professional help. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. I am not a Dr. Phil type. And I just want you to know that I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart if anything bad has happened to you like that, that you're okay. Just know that you will be okay. The other side to the predator issue in toxic cycles and small children are the facts that these were churched individuals that knew the story. the deep issue behind the predatorism was only brought to light a few short years ago. And believe me when I say all hell broke loose. I caused issues by bringing it up, by saying, "Didn't you know?" And when I said that, I was told that if they knew, they would have done something horrible. But they did know, because I was told by close relatives that they did know. They knew the facts up to a certain point, and then they ignored it. They ignored me. They just wished I would go away. But the kicker to that is the narcissism, the scapegoating, the coercive control, the manipulation, because they try to draw me in once in a while with their side tactics, with their underhanded agenda, which makes absolutely no sense. I can't give you the sense of it. If it was 7 cents, it would not be worth 7 cents because it doesn't make any sense. It's never made any sense to me. I was not protected as a small child, and then they lied.
What?
And this happens. I have a close friend who this has happened to, and they get very upset when I say, "You must deal with this. You need to deal with this because you're only hurting yourself." And the best way to deal with this is to speak about it. Speak about it with a friend, with a professional, with a group. Write it down. Express how it makes you feel so that you're not living in a shell of yourself. As always, I'd like to remind you that this is an open forum, and each of the stories from this podcast are firsthand experiences. I'm not saying these allegedly happened. These were firsthand experiences that I can account for. And the knowledge that I have of the situations has been documented. And then there's the disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. If anything that you've experienced in your life has come close to what I'm describing on this podcast, please seek professional help. Don't stay silent. Don't let things get so bad that you don't reach out and speak to someone, and speak in a way that makes them listen to you. Thanks for listening. And as always, thank you, Spotify. Welcome to the Wandering Dotterill.